Hello everybody, welcome back to SkySaga Make It Real. Today is actually going to be a bit of an interesting one. We're sitting here staring at an old image of a knot from a time where the game kind of froze on me and the knots weren't actually flying back towards me. You can see if I kind of flick through these images, the knot kind of got stuck in the chest and it allowed me to get a couple of different angles of the knot. Now, the reason we're doing this is this week I have had so many problems with one of my printers, and all of the time that I would normally put into recording this episode and building 3D models and 3D printing and stuff has all gone into getting that printer back up and running. So rather than leave you guys in the lurch and not actually put anything out this week, I decided that I was going to go through and find something interesting but easy-ish to design and put that out for you guys instead. So what I've decided on is this knot, and I looking through these photos, I saw this and I'm like, that is going to be absolutely perfect. And as you can see, the knot itself is a relatively flat item. Most of the detail is just painted on. So I am obviously going to make sure that these interesting little loops and bits and pieces do actually stand out and actually sit out from the actual background of the knot. But as you can see, there's not actually a lot that is sticking out. There's this edge that is buffed further out than everything else, and there's that kind of internal edge as well that is also buffed and sitting out from everything else. So it's going to be a bit of an interesting one to do because I don't have a good front-on image. I thought I did around here somewhere. I could potentially use this little image up the top here, but that's not a great little representation of what the knot actually is if we have a look at this image. So that's kind of the plan and the scope for today. I think the first thing to do is to go over and have a look at some graphics software, see if we can get the basic shape for this thing actually sketched out and working, and then we will go from there. So scrolling further through some of my images, I found this image of the old shop, or an old interaction with one of the shopkeepers, and if we actually zoom in, these knots are relatively well defined, which is kind of cool. So that's allowed me to build out the basic shape at least to get that kind of accurate. Obviously these corners are wrong. These need to actually be bent out a little bit, and that's the next thing that I want to do is kind of bend these out to being nice kind of rounded corners, and that's going for both the outside edges and the inside edges just like this. So we'll get some nice kind of even-ish rounded-y corners going on, and then we can move on from there. This is it's going to be a bit of an interesting one because it kind of sort of starts here with a very blurry knot and some interesting kind of tracing techniques on a very blurry image. And then from there, we're going to go on and add in that image that we saw before of the knot sitting in the chest and see what we can do to kind of improve this image and get this image ready for an actual print. And then of course, once we've got all of that done, we will pull it into some 3D modeling software, push it out into the actual size and shape that it needs to be for a full 3D model, and get that all going. So there we go. That is actually looking relatively decent as a knot shape. I'm pretty happy with that. I do need to get this little hole in the middle sorted out, along with the bounding box for it and also the bounding box for the rest of these shapes. But that is coming along quite well. I think the next step is I'm going to get most of this stuff done and dusted, get this all sorted out. I will push this through into the modeling software and I will meet you guys over there. So here we go in the modeling software, and here is actually about to be where the magic happens. So we've put in the actual image that you can see here, and then put in the drawing that you can see here, and then using the image that I showed you right at the very start, I scaled out the thickness of this coin and then kind of guesstimated where the bottom sections and the curls actually sit in terms of how thick those are, and then just kind of extruded these bits out to that kind of level. And as you can see right now, this does not look right because you can see the flat base and a 3D looking image on top. So here is where we're about to do the magic part of all of this and the real kind of 3D actual design part of this. We're just going to select all of that, except for we don't want to select the drawing I did earlier. We just want to select that, and then we want to select a line, and then if I select middle, hopefully click like that, as you can see, now we have this kind of middle section of the coin, which is just that kind of base section, and that is different from the curls and also from the embossed edge and the center, and that is actually on both sides. So all I've done here realistically is these edge walls right now are 14 millimeters, and then the curls themselves are 12, and then the actual midsection is 10. So by sitting those aligned across through the middle of the part, that's meant that there is 2 mil difference top and bottom between the kind of middle bit of the coin, I guess, and the outer edges, and 1 mil difference between the middle bit and the curls. So on the whole, I'm actually pretty happy with this. This has come out really, really well, and actually quite quickly, which is quite nice, because as I said, I didn't have a lot of time this week after all of the trouble that I had with the 3D printer. So yeah, now the only thing left to do is to try and print this thing out. What I'm actually thinking is I might try and print it standing up, because otherwise this kind of very small underhang in here, or overhang in here, I guess I should say, this midsection of the coin is actually going to cause a lot of issues, because it's only going to be like 1 mil or 2 mil of support material, and that's going to be really, really hard to break off. So if I stand it up this way, there'll be some support material under here, and then that should be actually relatively easy to do. Also, just looking at this, I've realized my edges for my coin aren't exactly perfect, but I actually feel like that's kind of okay, because a lot of the things in SkySaga aren't perfect. Like, nothing is exactly a square, even though it's a voxel-based game. So I think that's actually quite cool that it's ended up like that, and that's kind of what I get when I do this type of tracing that I've done here to get this thing to work. So yeah, let's try printing this standing up. I might also print another couple of them, but what I think is the one that we print together on camera in time-lapse is going to be standing up on one edge, and we'll just see how this goes. It may fail drastically, but we'll see how we go. And here we go, check it out. So this is our nice little, not our SkySaga coins. And this has actually come out really, really well. Those details printed in a lot better than I thought they were going to. So this is the big one that we printed straight up on the print like that. You guys saw a nice little time lapse for. I also went through and shrunk this down, because as I kind of saw this coming off the print bed, I realized this is quite big. Like, I have very big hands, and this is pretty hefty. So it doesn't really feel like a coin because it's too big. So I decided that I was going to print this again kind of smaller, and that was the result of that. So we have a couple of different coins here. Some of them I haven't actually snapped the support material off of yet, so they don't actually look like coins. We'll just get rid of that one, and that one also the same way. But then I have two coins that do actually kind of look like coins, because they're about the right size. They're a little bit too big for kind of normal people currency, but everything in SkySaga is big. Like, this coin here is not even a quarter of the size it probably should be. Looking at that photo that I showed you right at the very beginning of this video, these coins should probably be something like 50 centimeters wide, and just they would be huge. Like, this thing is, I think, about 20 centimeters wide at this point in time. So like, this coin is, yeah, like half or a quarter of the size it should actually be to be a real SkySaga coin.
The point here is everything in SkySaga is just massive. But personally, I like the little coins because they actually feel like coins. They're kind of printed in plastic and they're quite lightweight, but they feel like they're the right size to be coins. So if I was going to release this file, or if I was allowed to release this file, I would release it at the smaller size because I like them down this size. They actually work really, really well, and they print nicer too because there's not quite as much overhang in all the detailing, which means that they actually print quite well. So these have been printed in that transparent plastic, but at some point in time I would like to go and get some gold spray paint for these and spray these up and then kind of rub some dirt or some dark colored paint, I guess, into the actual coin lines and things and kind of dirty them up a little bit and just make them look like actual real pieces rather than what you can see here, which is just obviously the 3D printed part. But there you go. So that has been this week's Make It Real. I hope you guys have enjoyed that one, and I will see you in the next video.